Ash Esulamingas. Budamas cha Shanyan. Ja, счастлив быть здесь сегодня. Ich bin sehr froh, dass ich hier bin mit euch heute. Je suis heureux d'être ici aujourd'hui. Sono felice di essere qui oggi. 我很感受今天在这里。私は今日ここにあるで幸せです。I'm so happy to be here. I forgot my native language, the Korean. 여기 와서 여러분을 만나게 되어 반갑습니다. I'm here to talk about multilingualism today. The benefits and the burdens of speaking many different languages in the 21st century. It's clear that speaking different languages in many different languages is a benefit as well as a necessity in this day and age. Picture my grandmother, who was born at the beginning of the 20th century in a little fishing village in Korea. When she was born, the country was shut off from foreign countries, so nothing foreign. There was no paved street in the village. But by the time she went to school, she was the first girl to go to the school in her village. But when she went to school, her native language was forbidden. Korea was under some other country, another empire ruling it, and she had to use another language at the school. So she grew up in this multilingual, bilingual situation already. In her middle ages, the Soviet communism and the American capitalism came into conflict right at the middle of her country. It costed her husband's life, and she had to fend for herself as well as surviving through the war with 2 little children. Every day, thousands of soldiers were plowing up and down her native country. One day it will be Russian, next day it will be Chinese, next day it will be American. Who knows, the next day it could have been Turkish army, just marching up and down her land, and she had to survive through that. And she adapted very quickly, learning a few words here and there, and did some trade, sewed some uniforms for the soldiers, and survived through the war. In her 60s, she actually did start to study English and ended up speaking English with some Australian accent because her teacher was an Australian. And before she passed away in her late 90s, she got to be able to speak or sing lullabies and tell bedtime stories to her great-great-children in different languages according to what the great-grandchild was speaking. You see, my nephews and nieces, they are strewn all over the world. And she used to marvel at how the world has changed in her lifetime. That little girl that came from a little quiet fishing village, and by the end of her life, that village has been buried in a concrete jungle of tourist hotels and 4-lane highways passing by. And you know, the world has become a village itself, with tremendous development in the technology of communication and transportation. Everyone was next door neighbor. You could just Skype straight away, emails, whatever. And I myself had to learn many different languages because of my profession. I'm an opera singer, and most of my my repertoire that I sang was in Italian, French, German, some English, and now I teach in an American university in Texas. They speak a little bit different English, but that's another topic. But I'll tell you a secret. I didn't start to learn another language because I had to, but I started to learn a language because I was following a girl who was speaking a different language. You know, it is not. And you, my dear audience today, you are here following my talk because you already speak English or some other language already. So I am preaching at the converted already. Yeah? So the necessity, benefits of multilingualism, I don't have to talk or bash in. But let's stop here and think about the multilingualism. Isn't that a fallacy? I mean, who here do actually go out learning another language to enrich yourself, your souls, your minds? Isn't it rather more that you are there to learn a tool to enrich yourself economically, a trade tool, a professional tool? Language being used as a tool. And what are we talking about? Multilingualism. How many of you would go out and read, say, Victor Hugo or Albert Camus in French, Hermann Hesse, or Heine in German, Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, Barusky? How many? Aren't we hiding behind this homogenization of the culture, world culture? McDonaldization of the culture? Even the English, Oxford, Cambridge people, they follow the American education system. Since when do we have to become bachelors, masters, to become anybody? Let's not fall behind this signs and the symbols of multiculturalism. No. Look at United Nations. There are only 5 languages that are official languages at the United Nations. And you see all those people with the headsets. And yet, we see those head of states, when they are meeting for a conference, they always have a simultaneous translator right next to them. And they speak their own national language. That is to prove that they do have a national cultural heritage. But hey, they speak English, they speak Russian, they know how to communicate in other languages. But they do that. Somebody give me a logical explanation why a small country like Switzerland or Belgium have multiple national languages. Well, for the same matter, then why not Esperanto for the whole world? Eh? See, language as a tool has an economic implications, political implications. I was working with, I took a little walk out to the Rotusche Square with my family, a 4-year-old daughter. And silly me, I was trying to explain to her about Rotusche, German word Rathaus, how this Lithuanian language has this German influences and all that. Like Christmas tree, Christmas. What about the little baby called Jesus and his birthday? What about Santa Claus? That saint called Nicholas, and how he's going to be nice to the people who listen to them and be a nice boys and girls. That kind of a conversation, my wife was saying, oh, don't preach on her. But they came to a highlight when we found a little telephone booth. booth. I had to explain to my daughter why a booth was standing up, covering the telephone. And I was trying to think of a nice way of explaining it. When my 4-year-old girl got stuck at the telephone and said, "Apaya," that's Korean, and she was asking, "Apaya, so this is a telephone?" And I said, "Yes." "How does one take a picture with it?" See, my friends, the smartphone is here, and they are going to stay. The concept of the words are changing. Adam and Eve, they have bitten off that little bit of apple, and apple doesn't mean an apple. Pandora has opened the box. Pandora doesn't mean Pandora, the radio. I don't know, I cannot keep up. Words, languages, sentences, they can be formed. And you know what? Today I read that a famous dating website has been sued in America because they've been using an artificial intelligence for the paid phone services. You know, people are having intimate conversations with robots. Yes, Google has a lot to learn about the Lithuanian conjugations and declensions of different cases. But the days and time of the translators are over. And you know that. Machines can do that. It's about the time that we can look into each other, into the eyes, and say what we can mean, not in words, but how we can understand heart to heart. It's the emotional language that we have to learn, not the machines of languages. That's my point. You know, my grandmother, she was very old when she passed away, and the last time that we talked over the phone, she was saying, "You know, I enjoyed my life, but one thing that I miss is that I never got to speak to an offspring from you, my firstborn." I sometimes wonder how it will be. I really dream of my grandmother singing lullabies and telling fairy tales to my daughter in Russian or in English. I don't know if my daughter would have understood her. She had this weird accent, and her vocabulary was not that good. But you know, I can see those two girls giggling away, because the loving spirit was always there. Ash esu labai laimingas būdamas čia šiandien.